Okay, I want to give a quick demonstration on some of the navigation and filtering tools for our network viewer. When you first go to the viewer, it will load all of the network information and pull you out to sort of an overview area where you can look at all the individual nodes, but they're clumped together quite a bit. And you can zoom in either using the zoom in tools on the upper left-hand side or using the mouse scroll wheel. And as you zoom closer, you start to get some differentiation between those nodes, and you start to be able to tell the difference between those, and you can investigate the links as well. However, depending on the type of visualization or data investigation you're trying to do, that still might be too many nodes to look at. So you might want to do some filtering. So we have this little filter component that is in the upper right-hand side. And this allows you basically to turn off and on all of the individual nodes that you are looking at. So in particular, if you are only interested in one particular node type, so let's imagine that we are only interested in looking at our storage devices in this particular place, you can actually go and turn off all of the individual types of nodes except for the ones that have to do with storage. And then as you zoom in and out, you can see you get a really nice overview of those individual components that exist. None of the links actually show between those. If you actually turn on the one-step node, you can actually see at least the first node that is coming from all of these individual components. So you can see all of the ways that water is leaving these individual things, which might be what you're interested in doing. You can also, at that point, you can do a search. So if we were only interested in Shasta, for example, you can do a search for those, and then you'll just get the only reservoirs that match that particular feature. So it's a good way for you to find a particular node if you're interested. But we'll go ahead and put on most of the nodes again. What we're going to do in this case, though, as an example, is we're going to leave the sync nodes off. So you can see that there's quite a few values that go to these individual syncs. And if you're not interested in those, you can turn those off. And if we turn off the one-step mode, then we'll also turn off all of the links that are going directly to those nodes. And that basically is a good way to eliminate all of those. So this is a view that we might be interested in if we're trying to follow the water through the system. But you get some other features too. When you click on an individual component on this, you actually get the description of that particular component. And we'll talk about the data in a little bit, but regardless of what node you're looking at, you have a little navigation panel on the top as well. So this allows you to actually follow the flow from this particular node. So you can see on the right-hand side are all the places that the water is flowing to from this node, and on the right-hand side are all the places that water is flowing into this node for this particular thing. And if you click on any of these, then you can actually jump from node to node. So you can continually follow and see where the water is going along this route. You can go backwards in the other direction if you make a mistake, and you can navigate through the system pretty well this way. These are actually go from node to node. If you're actually interested in the data that's corresponding to the links between those, then you click on that little arrow between that, and that actually will take you to the data that has to do with that particular link. And then the link obviously has a single origin and a single terminal for that. If you go along at any time, you can return back to the map by clicking on this back arrow in the upper left-hand side. But if you've sort of traveled so far that you're really not even sure where you are, then if you click on this show on map, it'll actually take you back to the system, but it'll zoom you in onto that last node that you were looking at. So that's a quick overview of some of the navigation features that exist. Okay, I also want to show some of the features in terms of the information that you have looking at the nodes and links inside the network database. And as we've seen before, anytime you click on a node, you get your node that gives you a little bit of navigation, but also all of the data that exists as inputs into the network model are exposed as well. And we try to show that information in these lower components here. For example, if you're looking at a surface storage like a reservoir, you get a number of climatic information like the kinds of inflows that go into it. You get the change in the area and the elevation as a function of capacity and the initial capacity that the model starts with. You also get costs for the storage. Costs typically change from month to month, so you can click on these individual months and see how those changes happen. And you also get constraints. So the constraints have, in this particular case, both upper and lower bounds that change through the course of the year as well. On these, on the climate data, and actually sometimes the constraints are time series constraints as well, you have a little bar here that allows you to pull on the individual range that you're looking at. And as you do that, then these graphs, both this graph and the constraint graph, if it was a time series as well, would change and show you just that particular area that you're interested in. We try to show as much data as we can for any of the values. So if we have a particular link that has costs that are associated with it, those will go in. We also have, you might want to look at how these change with the type of node that you're looking at. For example, if you're looking at an agricultural demand, you might not have any climatic data involved with that, but you'll still have constraints. And you'll, in this case, you'll have constraints that are time series. This is a good example of, as you pull this around, you'll get a modification to the time that you're looking at, the time frame below. And then here, you might see that your costs for delivering water might change pretty dramatically from January through May, June, and July as you go through the summer months. So not all of the data is currently being displayed, but we're working on that. And as I said, as you navigate from one particular location to another, all of the data below will actually update as well. Okay, thank you.